So, like moving ahead with the expert talk series, we have a very renowned person today, Dr. Anil Kumar Sharma, Vice President, ML Pharmaceutical India Limited, and he'll be delivering his talk and he's going to share his views on the topic current perspective in the field of global pharmaceutical industry. So, like before, do I ask him to speak? There is a long CV he holds. I was really very much confused. What points do I need to tell to audiences and what not? Because he has such a like good resume. He's basically a postgraduate MPharm and PhD in pharmacy with additional postgraduate management in and global business. He has industrial experience from manufacturing to marketing and regulatory affairs of about 27 years, including the allopathic as well as Ayurvedic organization. He has a very good exposure to domestic and international market, and he had been to different countries for business promotion and technical documentation such as Canada, Kazakhstan, Malaysia, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and many more. He's currently associated with ML Pharmaceutical India Limited as vice president, which is his current designation, and heading all the technical activities out there. He's a qualified lead auditor for quality management system for ISO certifications. He had been associated with the CT Institute of Pharmaceutical Sciences, Jalandhar, Punjab, as a director in the year 2011 to 2015. He had also been a principal postgraduate institute, Parul Institute of Pharmacy, Vadodara. He is editorial member and chief editor of many reputed journals. He has supervised research projects sponsored by PTU, Punjab Technical University, in collaboration with Trojan Pharma Private Limited, Keegat Biogen Private Limited, YTIK Nature's Care Private Limited. He has a research index of 14.81. He has 57 publications in reputed journals, which are national and international scale. He has guided 8 PhD candidates and 24 MPharm candidates at PTU. He is like supervisor there. And so I welcome here a personality who is a approved, competent person, no doubt, a technical expert, a competent lead auditor, recognized faculty, and of course, an industrialist. We're really blessed to have you with us, sir, so that we can listen to you. I welcome you, sir, on the like platform of the Lloyd. So I would
And
request you. Yes, sir. Please carry on. Sorry.
yeah, please continue.
So I'll just stop share, sir, and I would like if you would like to share your presentation.
Sure.
Yeah.
And before the hand, I would welcome all the participants and thankful to Dr. Vandana ji and as well as all her team members for inviting this particular the Industry Institute Bridging talk. That is the need of the hour. And I think every institute to the budding pharmacists should give the exposure to the industry so that they find a good pathway in their career. With that, I would like to just start with my presentation. Am I audible to all? With all due respect and welcome to the all dignitaries in this participation, Director Madam, Dr. Komod, other faculty, esteemed faculty members of the institute, the budding pharmacists from the M Pharma and B Pharma stream, and maybe the allied stream also. My focus in this particular part is with respect to the perspectives in the development of the pharmaceutical industry. Basically, the profession of pharmaceutical industry in India is not very old. It's merely about 70, 80 years old. Right in the sixth decade, 1960s decade, the industrialization on the pharmaceutical industry that have started in India. Otherwise, prior to that was mostly the MNCs. But globally, if we consider pharma field is the world's third largest industry and which contribute about 5.65 trillions of the US dollar as far as the public market value is concerned. So after the banking and after the e-commerce, pharmaceutical is the biggest field. Rather, it is more advanced than the software as such. My focus in giving this presentation, though it is a bit lengthier for the audience, is that whatever they choose, whatever they like, they may choose that particular point, and that one may help in building up their career in the coming time, because they, first of all, they must understand what this particular profession is. So we were looking into the scope of the industry then, and the pharmaceutical industry is with respect to the discovery of the medicines, developmental part, manufacturing part, distribution, patients compliance, revenue generation of the drugs and medications by public and private organization. So it is a universal part all throughout the globe, whether the country is developed, under developing, or maybe the underdeveloped. Pharmaceutical industry exists everywhere, and that focus is there of the industry with respect to four major pillars. One is based on the nature, whether we call it.
I'm extremely sorry.
So these are the four pillars where we focus on uh, herbal ayush. That means something which concerned with the nature. So it's not only the India that where the Ayurveda system is there, whether it is Greek or Europe or China or Germany. Everywhere there is the traditional system where we are resourcing the medicines from the nature. Second part is the synthetic particular part, and there we take up the things like the APIs, active constituents, and the bulk drug industry is there. Pharma dosage forms are the formulations, and normally we confine ourselves only on that particular part. But there again, now is the era of the biopharmaceuticals, which we will discuss. And the fourth pillar over here is the diagnostics and surgical part. When we say about the pharma industry, it's not merely making the formulations, but it is simultaneously the different field into that, which may start from something like the CROs, then research activities, then media. Nowadays, the pharma journalism is coming up, a very good profession. Then APIs are there, biotechnology, generics, packaging, even the packaging development is there. Let me give you the examples. In US, many industries are there which are making the diagnostics component along with the drug coating into that. So many of the stents, which are the medicated stents, are there. They are from the packaging industry, not from the formulation unit. Okay. So supply chain management is again something good. According to the need of the market, they are into the distribution part and making the products available over there. Pestle analysis. So pestle, once we say, is the pestle for any country or any division, there is this scientific status is there, where it comes to the political figure, economical, social, technological, environmental, and legal. You must have seen during this COVID pandemic time, many of the obstacles were there, and to the government, so many questions were asking that why you are taking the technology, why only one company, why you are giving the vaccines to other companies, and like that. So, for any country in for the development of the pharmaceutical industry, these are the pestle analysis format is there in order to estimate the pharmaceutical drug market. So what we normally consider pharma is the field of only the pharma people, but it is not like that. And so many other structure of the country, they also are involved, and based on that, the pharmaceutical market is assessed. And if we look into the global pharma scenario, what you see that spendings gradually is coming down and the market is thereby expanding. So if we look into the other pharma emerging factor and the growth, that is the dark blue color, if you see, that include this particular India, Russia, Brazil particular part, and you see there is a consistent growth. In the last 15 years, if we consider, there is a growth globally in over about 7% at the market rate, right? Whereas if you look into the China part is much more higher. higher. There the growth is maybe 10 to 12% in the global pharma scenario because of their very active participation in the active pharma ingredients, APIs. If we further look into these 10 years, this current decade, what we find, though the figure, it is of about 2 years before, because they all are the export data, compiling takes about a year or so. So what you see, there is a consistent growth by the way of the formulation, and still we are confined majorly to the tablets and capsule, the oral dosage form, but the other sort of the dosage forms are not yet developed. So here I would focus to the faculty as well as the research scholars of the institutes that let's look into something which is more innovative and more applicable, because in many of the situations the oral dosage form is not that much. We still are very confined about the sustained injectables, sustained release injectables, or maybe yet the inhalers. We are not using the inhalers much, though it is very convenient in many of the conditions where we cannot give the tablets and capsules, the inhaler, they may provide the drug in a better way. US is developing something, some derivatives of insulin in the inhaler components in order to avoid the injectables from the diabetic's life. So what basically India is looking, we are looking for the global dominance, and that's what our honorable Prime Minister and the government is looking for, and is expanding the pharmaceutical profession by all levers. And when we come to the Indian pharmaceutical market, what we see, though in 2009, that means about 10 years before, it was only $12.6 billion, and it has grown to about $55 billion estimated uh, for 2022, and still will have the potential of maybe around 9 to 10%, which is much higher than the global pharmaceutical market. The average growth rate of Indian pharmaceutical market in the current scenario is about 10 to 12%, in spite of whatever the pandemic and other constraints are going on, because the nature of the market has changed, but not the contents of the market. And when we see the Indian pharmaceutical industry, what we see is the evolutionary phase is there, where in the earlier years we were only looking for the market share. We then proceeded towards the Indian Patent Act, and we developed the DPCO, that is the Drug Price Control Orders, and like that. In the third phase, probably we are running in this third phase only, and there we have entered into the process development. Many of the indigenous industries like Sun Pharma, like Mankind Pharma, all they have come in the very recent time, around 30-40 years before. And there would be then coming phase we are expecting is again the growth phase. And in the current scenario, many of the MNCs and the Indian big houses, they are into development of the more innovative and research products. Like you must have heard recent one in the last week, 2DG was evolved and developed by the DRDO in conjunction with Dr. Reddy's. Advantage India, if we consider that why we expect a good growth in our country, because the first and foremost part is cost efficiency. Our learned people, they are available. We have good count of learned people in our country. If we consider in pharma industry, at least we may have more than 20% of the people who are highly qualified as the postgraduate or as the doctorate in the field of the pharmacy. So we have more of the potential for the cost efficiency. Then economic driven factors are there still, maybe because of our currencies and all that. Still we are much cheaper in comparison to the developed countries. Then we have the increasing investments. Fortunately, whatever we may say, we have a good strength of the population of about 135 crores, That means India is a big capital and a big economic hub for the pharmaceutical market. So all throughout the globe, whether it is Russia or America or Europe, they would feel like coming over to this particular our country and making a good investment. And then the policy support, our global leaders and the union budgets from the government, that is also increasing. And what we see that in the coming time, uh, the pharma field is increasing because of the various governmental policies. Like we say that the Ayushman Bharat is there, or the so many health insurance is there. Maybe around 20 years before, if we consider, hardly anybody who used to take the health policies. But now, particularly in the urban cities, maybe more than 40% of the people, they are owing the health insurance. That means by one way or the other way, we are progressing in the field of the health insurance, in the field of the preventive health management, in the field of the nutraceuticals, and on particular part. And when so many of the investments are coming, that means so much of the innovative work is going on. And what we see that now the Indian clinical trial sector is also developing. So that is a giving a big scope to the CROs. In the last 20 years, if we consider that so many of the CROs they have developed either autonomously or maybe in collaboration with many of the multinationals. So what we see and what you can see from this particular graph, that there is a consistent growth in the investments of the new molecule clinical trials, which used to be almost absent. So phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, these are the four particular phases of the clinical trials. And before the clinical trial, there are the preclinical studies, which is in the purview of the pharmaceutical profession by the pharmacologists. So what we see that this particular field is also there, where the postgraduates and higher qualified research scholars, they may choose their career, because this field is also developing like anything in our countries. Maybe the NCR region, Greater Noida, maybe the Gurgaon, Bombay, Pune, Bangalore. You find so many cities, even Chandigarh, which are having number of the CROs with them, and they are conducting good clinical studies. Even many of the big pharmaceutical houses also, they have their own CROs for the clinical studies and preclinical studies. Then the pharma revenue also, if we consider, so what we see maybe around 15 years before, where the pharma revenue generation, it used to be only $6 billion. Now in India, if we consider, it is growing up to about $45 billion, and that is giving a CAGR. CAGR is cumulative aggregate growth rate, is around 12.1%, whereas in the global scenario, it is only 7%. So again, giving a overview of the industry, our focus is towards the generic drugs, and what we see that 72% of the market in pharmaceutical subsegments, that belongs to the generic drugs, right? And otherwise, it is the OTC and the patent. So here again, I would say that in case our industry and institutions, they go for patenting of the new molecular development and pass through all the steps of making the approval at the national level and at the international level, then definitely we will have the more scope towards the patented medicine, because generic medicine quantum is more, but the revenue generation is less. Whereas in case of the patenting, DPCO, it would be exempted in the initial 7 years and 14 years, depending upon on the clause. And there you may choose, you can generate more revenue and you can reinvest into the development of that. So since in Indian pharmaceutical industry, this patented drug component share is very low, and hence I request and make appeal to all the uh, integral part of the institutions, that they make more and more development and have a good bridging for the research with the industries. And there we take the pharma exports as the cumulative growth in case we take for our industry, and we find that consistently it is increasing. And by value, if we consider, though we are coming at maybe around 20 level, but by quantum, India is the third world's largest country which is making export to all throughout the globe. And now you look into the pharma industry by way of the market segment. So what majorly you find, still our market is towards the anti-infectives. These are the maybe about 2 years old data. So there the major share is the anti-infective, then is the cardiac, then is the gastrointestinal vitamins, respiratory components, pain and analgesics, and like that. So anti-infective still in our country, anti-infective means including the antibiotics, antimicrobials, and maybe topical, maybe for internal use. Still we had a good focus towards the infection, and the consumption of antibiotics, that is the more. So Indian pharmaceutical industry is now estimated to grow at 20% compound annual growth rate over the next 5 years. That is what we are expecting in the coming time. And to be very honored, let me just share with you that even though in pandemic time, all the industries they have curbed, but the pharmaceutical industry that has grown, and by having more and more of the production for the essential medicines, and the new segment in the market like the sanitizers and masks and diagnostics and oximeters and all that, the size of the pharmaceutical industry, it have been expanded. Now these are the therapeutic categories according to the requirement worldwide, where the more focus is required, particularly in the immunological segment. Now, this particular segment, immunological, it is the all-time requirement. And thereafter would be the anti-cancerous, then the gene therapy, then the monoclonal antibodies. These are the areas where more focus by the pharma institutions and the research organizations, they should focus, because one side, we don't know how the nature is changing. So definitely the changes in the nature, because the principle of the nature is that the changes are bound to be there. Maybe in the earlier time we used to have more focus on the analgesics when the morphine and all those components were developed. Thereafter it came something like the antacids and anti-vomiting and GIT related. Thereafter we came into as the more of the metabolic disorder type of the components, and diabetes and cardiac problems and all those, they were there. But in the recent time, if we consider, it is something like the biopharmaceuticals or biotechnological resourcing has to be done, because that becomes the need of the hour. Okay. So with that, before we enter into some part relating to the technical issues, it would be the Indian pharmaceutical companies which have grown for the motivation of our budding pharmacists, that on the global rank, your first ranked company Sun Pharma is now globally, it is ranked in first 100 companies at the global level, and also Dr. Reddy's lab. Then Cipla, Hetero Drugs, Serum Institutes, they are also there. Maybe for your record, you should feel more motivated that first 40 rank Indian pharmaceutical houses, they have been listed in the global list. Okay. And they are also contributing a good amount of the revenue. But as I was letting you, the need of the hour also changes. And accordingly, we are to prepare ourselves. It should not happen that first some epidemic or pandemic comes and thereafter we start searching for the things. Now, with context to the recent time also, this is particularly a viral threat. So in case we would have done more work towards the immunological studies, then probably we could be prepared for facing this particular COVID-19 in a better way. But everything has started maybe in a year or from last 2 years time, not only in India but also at the global uh, time. Okay, so thereafter, if we just look into these such types of the pandemic, they are not new. Maybe our young people, they must be feeling that first time we are having such type of the things. No, it is, if we look into the last 1 decade, okay, or maybe from 2000 onwards, what we find that different types of the viral strains, they have attacked the society, and temporarily we developed something like vaccine or some medications or some managementary part, but thereafter we have not continued our studies. In case we would have continued our studies, then we could link it that in 2003 we had the SARS, then after was the swine flu, then this MERS was there. It is something like Middle East rotogenic strains are there. Then Ebola had come, then presently COVID-19 is coming. So that means one or the other way, it is affecting our society, and it is a natural imbalance. And in order to restore the balance, some strains from the nature would be there in order to make the eco balancing or eco disbalancing. So whatever we may say with our perspective, but ultimately some sort of the pandemic and epidemics are always coming into the society, and we are to make a good learn over there. And in case this particular COVID-19 focus is there, and pharmaceutical industry, temporarily we faced the medication shortage, research and developmental shifts. Continuously people, they have worked in multiple shifts, and but in long term, if we look into today, we have some good vaccination. There is a good growth factor in the pharmaceutical industry. So many drugs they have developed. Ethical dilemmas we have come up. So approval delays initially was there, and even now also it is only the conditional delays, approvals are there, so which may take further some more time. But the impact would be that ultimately the outsourcing of drug production and having the alliance with many international companies, it would further boost the volume of the pharmaceutical industry from 25% to about 30%. As some component in my presentation, I would just give you the overviews, the need, because now it is not the time of the chemotherapy. Now the time has come for the biotherapy. And into the biotherapy, again, we are to go back to the nature. No, nature, I don't restrict only to the Ayurvedic market or natural drug market, but it is something which is concerned to the pharmaceutical, biopharmaceuticals, and immunoglobulins is a big sector, and they are the antibodies, and they are y-shaped, and technical discussions are there relating to that. They are in the form of the IgGm, immunoglobulin M, immunoglobulin G, then immunoglobulin A, and into the different system of the body they are acting. So they become the first line of defense, and which are existing or exerting the resistance against the infections, maybe the bacterial, maybe the additions to the epithelial cells and like that. And IgD, that is immunoglobulin D, on the to enhance the mucosal hemostasis, and IgE is there, which is made by a small proportion of the beta cells and present in the blood flow in lower concentration. So on the body cells, they are there. And then nowadays, you must be seeing that the rapid antigen tests are there, and antibody detections are there. So relating to that also, so many diagnostics are there, but still our diagnostic measures are also not very particular. So in order to have the antigen detection, the techniques used are uh, direct agglutination is there, the latex agglutination is there, as well as the immunochromatographic techniques are there, which are required into that. And these are the detection, antigen antibody detection criteria are there into that, maybe the precipitation, agglutination, hemagglutination, viral neutralization, immunoassays, ELISA readers, they are being used, and also the immunofluorescence blotting chromatographic techniques are there. And vaccinations is again something which is a very common nowadays. We heard every day that some sort of the vaccination from techniques they have been developed by and having the collaboration from various national and international level. And they may generate maybe a short term or long term immunity depending upon what basically is the criteria of the development of the vaccination. And in the vaccine trials, what you basically find is yet on the phase 2 and 3, we are there. And in the stages, first is the preclinical studies, where it is focused only on the tissue culture, cell cultures of the animals for which they have been developed. And phase 1 is restricting to about 20 to 100 volunteers, and phase 2 is several hundreds of the patients they are taken. But still phase 3, because phase 2 and phase 3 in our country is not much developed, so at the larger scale the government has given the approval through the DCGI, and for the restricted use of that or emergency use of that, yet we are not green cleared on the part of the vaccination. And as I was just telling that in the last 70 years, we have developed number of the vaccinations, right? And it is a long time process. Like the 1952, we developed the first vaccine for polio, but only in the recent past we have eradicated polio. So normally 50 to 60 years it may take from the society, from a rich populated country like India. And 57 we developed the adenovirus vaccine. 62 then it came again the oral drops, then 62 measles, 67 mumps, rubella, then for pneumonia we have come, and vaccination for the smallpox. 1980 we developed the vaccine for the hepatitis B virus, then for chicken pox. 91 we developed for hepatitis A. 98 is the rotavirus. 2006 is human papilloma virus, right? And 2012 hepatitis E, and 2015 vaccine for the malaria and dengue have been developed, and 19 for Ebola, which was approved. And recently, we have developed the vaccine for the COVID-19. So that means the pharmaceutical industry is working consistently uh, for a longer time. But only thing is what you find, there is a gap. Suppose if we would have worked very sincerely and in continuation with whatever we developed for the pneumonial vaccine, right? Maybe today in COVID-19 also it is something which is disturbing the pneumonial factor. So all these vaccines, you may find that all antiviral vaccines, they have the some sort of the correlation. And if we continue our efforts in making the development and expanding the scope of the vaccine, then it is always better. You must have read in the recent past about different vaccines which are available in our country, and for which the clinical trial in phase 3 is going on. mRNA is a messenger ribonucleic acid vaccine. It's from the Pfizer, which is there. It is not yet come to our country, but maybe in the coming time it may come once it cross all the international pathways of regulations. Thereafter is something like from AstraZeneca, the SARS COVID-19 vaccine. It has been developed as the adenovirus, into which the adenovirus has been modified so that it further do not replicate, right? That is the mechanism. And then we have from the Bharat Biotech Covaxin is there, and it has been duly approved through the ICMR in collaboration, and where the whole virion inactivated viro cell, which is the very traditional concept of the vaccine that have been used into the virus. Okay, and is included with the immunopotentiators so that it provides the immuno factors in a very faster effect. Then we have the further phase 2 studies into which for the young and the children people the Covaxin has been used. From the Serum Institute, Covishield, which is a monovalent uh, component and is single recombinant replication deficient chimpanzee adenovirus, right, vector encoding as the glycoproteins of SARS. So again, you find that the SARS correlation is there in the Covishield particular factor. And thereafter are so many of the chemopharmaceuticals are there, which are used particularly against the viral stains. Now the 2DG, that is the 2-deoxy glucose that have been developed by the DRDO and in collaboration with Dr. Reddy's lab. And that is something which is reducing the oxygen requirement in the respiratory disorders or even in the pancreatin components. So that means now in case we have to manage the COVID part, what we find that most of the molecules, they may be only acting partially as antibiotics, but not as a uh, key component in the management of the COVID-19 part. What we really require are the biopharmaceuticals. And not merely that, still we have the scope for the various nucleic acid components, various types of the antibodies, and also we have in the market some components from the biopharmaceutical field. That is, one is the insulin. And for the company like Novartis, insulin is one of the most valuable component in the global market, which is used. And similarly, the heparin is also the biopharmaceuticals, and pancreatin, FSH. These are the various biopharmaceuticals what are required in the market. So India's biopharmaceutical market is further in the current time, it is succeeding. And you can see that since financial year 2018, if we consider, it is indicating a growth rate of almost about 32%. So where the overall Indian pharmaceutical market is around 12 to 14%, but here in biopharmaceutical, we find more scope over here for the growth of the pharmaceutical industry. And the biopharmaceuticals in the global market, you can see that monoclonal antibodies are still required. And by 2025, you can see what more quantum would be required globally in order to look into that. So still our focus would be towards the monoclonal antibodies part, insulin, interferons, right, growth and coagulation factors, erythropoietin component, then vaccines. So these are the various sort of the biopharmaceutical components where more of the research is to be focused. So again, on part of the natural market, and natural derived products are still there in the market, and they are also contributing a good growth. We have the immunity booster, and since in natural drug component, immunity is one of the factors you must be learning about a lot from the advertisements of the OTC product like Chyawanprash and all that. Though in pharmaceutical market, pharmacologically, either the components are immunosuppressants or immunostimulant. But in natural drugs, something like immunomodulation is there, in which the herb, they possess both the factors depending on the need of the body. So that particular immunomodulation is something very, very exclusive. And I would again suggest from my side that our pharmaceutical institutions, they should work towards the part of the immunomodulation and what basically it is. Maybe sometime we don't believe on the scientific part, but on the part of the nature. So it is very, very acceptable. Like in the coming time, we have seen during the COVID-19 market, though the vaccination and other antibiotics they have been consumed, still you find so many of the herbal components and their products, they have been much consumed over there. So now we come to the other allied part of the pharmaceutical industry for your knowledge. Because most of the people from the pharma field, they just have a believing that no, no, we are pharma qualified. We should not go to the Ayurveda industry, or we should not go to the phyto industry, or we should not, we should, they only restrict to a formulation unit, which is not sufficient. And you may just look that from the Indian pharmaceutical industry, herbal component is about 8,600 licensed herbal units, manufacturing units are there. And the quantum, maybe you can find that so many metric tons of more than 242 medicinal plants, they have been listed by the National Medicinal Plant Board, which is indicating that in case our pharma VPL, they enter into the field of the agronomy, then definitely they have a big scope in the coming time. So domestic herbal market is something which is estimated demand of having the 2 lakhs metric ton of the herbs, whereas the export is still having around 1.34 lakhs of the metric ton of the drugs, right? And this is the old figure of the last 5-year consumption. So maybe now it must have reached almost equivalent to the domestic herbal industry. And then the aroma industries, they are still where the pharma people, they are lacking their hold, and that one can develop. And not merely, I would not say that you make only the fragrances, but in from the aroma industry you can enter into the field of the inhalers and uh, metric inhalers, through which you may provide the drug as the drug carrier, essential oil as the drug carrier. And again, the market size of the industry is about 247 kilotons, right? And also the annual growth is also almost equivalent to 7.5%. That is the estimated growth. So we can apply the aroma industry again in the field of the pharmaceutical industry. Then again, on the part of the Ayurvedic industry, India is known for that globally. And even in US FDA, they have developed the Department of Ayurveda now, and having the turnover of about 1,200 millions in terms of the market value from the India. And the export of the Ayurvedic medicines is also there. So many of the big players are there into the field, like the Himalaya Drug Company and Dabur, and even the Amil Pharmaceuticals. We are into this particular part. And somewhere the scope, again, you are to go back, because without going to the nature, we cannot develop the medicines from the synthetic origin. So again, we may have to go back, cancer treatment, respiratory disorders, diabetes, autoimmune disorders, all that. We find a good scope for such type of the products. And the global Ayurvedic market by region, like the North America, which is widely accepting the Ayurvedic medicines. So these all are the scopes which have been listed. Anybody who is interested in the data figures and like that, they may contact us. And the major scientific councils from the government of India, they are working on the research part of that. So with that, I just make an appeal that from the presentation and elsewhere, wherever you feel our coordination, I would request all our budding participants over here and the professionals be in touch with the industries. For us, you may just write very simple to the R&D at the rate of amilpharmaceuticals.com. You may mention my name for kind attention. So it would come to me, and any sort of the coordination with the research perspective, we can, you are always welcome to do it. So with that, I just close my session, and we are open for any sort of the query or anything, any suggestion, whatever, if any participants or the faculty they need. Please. So with that, I just hand over the dais to Dr. Kumud. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Kumud. Please
Yeah.
take over.
Thanks a lot, sir. Your session has been really very informative and illustrative, and the data also that was quite elaborative. And I hope the students have must heard it properly. Besides that, you have been really very kind to give an open invite to the students for the upcoming research facilities as well as the job opportunities in your like company. So, students, if you have any question, you can put in the chat box. Okay, sir. Like, I was just like noticing the key points which you have told. Like, you have shown the growth of Indian pharmaceutical industry in the various sector, and specifically the categories, therapeutic categories which are really advancing in the field of research and development includes anti-cancer and anti-cancer as well as these immunomodulators. Am I correct, sir?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Because
So, like,
they are more linked to the nature.
yeah.
You see,
So, as a
basically,
Hanji,
in
please,
our
carry on.
body, our
Mhm.
body is sustained in two factors. One is the intrinsic factor, and one is the ecosystem. So, ecosystem it keeps on changing, right? So, even if we travel abroad, okay, our immunity factor would change, and that may disturb all our other pharmacological system.
Okay. So I just felt like to ask you like if as a research supervisor when student ask like sometimes the students they have their known interest कि ma'am I want to work in this area or something but sometimes students do ask ma'am please आप guide करें कि मैं किस field में research करूं. So आपके हिसाब से should we guide them to work in the area of the immunomodulators and the anti-cancer products that is a more in demand? Is it going to be
Right.
more beneficial?
Yeah, I feel that is the base. I give
Okay.
more stress
Yeah.
towards these particular segments.
Right. So thank you, sir. Any other question which is to be asked by students? Are you interested like to ask something? So one more term we have often heard of that is a fierce price competition from the generics, which is often faced by the companies which are like more of the MNCs and which are engaged in the research and development more. Because Indian companies are most of the times they are me too companies. They just take up that molecular formula. I mean, they just carry on with their own research, but that is not actually their product. So that me too companies are more of the Indian origin. So what do you think that there is a lacuna or the reason behind that Indian companies are me too companies and not the R&D companies? Though as per your data, R&D is in phase 4 in our country now, that's good enough. But still, we are still far, far lacking behind. Any
Okay.
comments, please?
Yeah, I just narrate in 1 minute one particular incident. Around 40 years before, when I was working for Ranbaxy that time. So what happened? There would Dr. Parvinder Singh. He took over the charge as the managing director of the company, and he revised the budget. He asked, "What is this provident fund?" So the CAs and the concerned authority they told that it is for the good future of the employees. So he said, "What about the good future of the industry?" He said, "Sir, I could not understand." Then he told that research and development is the good future for the industry. And that time he gave the budget of may around 8.33% of the total turnover, right? And it accounted 40 years before about 30 crores. So it depends upon that if the industries are big enough and they have the vision for the research, then definitely they take over.
Okay, thank you, sir.
But such type
Yeah,
of
there is.
industry you are telling very right. Such type of industries is only 5 to 10% in our country.
Okay, so there is a question by one of the students. He's saying that if we talk about the career in pharmaceutical research or any other career in pharmaceutical industry, we are not even the top 10 in respect to the lifestyle of the worker in the pharmaceutical industry. We are still among the lowest paid worker among the top countries. Why is it so? Like doubt
He
is
is
quite
very,
genuine for
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's a genuine point. But what happens, basically the my focus towards making this presentation is only one thing, that normally in the institutes, people, that means our students, they just make up their mind only on one particular part. No, I am so and so. They define themselves first and then look for the scope in the industry. It is not like that. If you look into when we were students, like the participants over here, we were also thinking, no, no, we are only a simple student, what we'll get, how we enter. But at the maturity of the profession, when you reach step by step, you really able to fetch a good amount of the compensation. But when you compare it with the global industry is something in the developed area. I have seen the market of the Africa also, and I've seen the market of the America also. So quantum and quality, these two are the factors which gives you the return, right? So
Yeah.
if we improve our caliber, let me just cite an example. One of my colleague who was my senior in the institute, after doing his M Pharma MBA from the IIM Ahmedabad, he earned a package of more than 3 to 4 crore rupees per annum from the same pharmaceutical field. So that should be the mission.
Okay. Yeah. Keep,
I can give the name of the person also. Now he's consultant in Gurgaon.
okay.
Yeah, please. So
Yeah.
there is no
Keep
limitation in the industry.
fine. So I hope student can take up the message that you really need to improve your skills and grow your caliber. Kirti ma'am, I would request you to please unmute Annie ma'am. She wants to ask a question.
Sure, ma'am.
Yeah. Annie ma'am, please carry on. Yes, Annie ma'am, please carry on.
Okay. Very good afternoon, sir. It's such an excellent and informative session that's going on that I just couldn't stop myself from asking this question. Sir, I work as a faculty here, and I have this question since my PhD days. Like, sir, I come from the field of natural product chemistry. So,
Okay.
one thing that I have observed, sir, that when we discover a new phyto ingredient, it could be any compound with an excellent activity against anything, both in vitro in vivo, till the patenting part is all good. But once
Right.
we go into the technology transfer with the company, so what I have observed that the companies are a little hesitant when it comes to acquiring any phyto ingredient or any extract, because the only thing that they have is the resource is very restricted. What they
Right.
ask us for is the synthetic analog to it or to a synthetic conversion to it. So, sir, how do you deal with this when it comes to an industrial background? So, I just wanted to know about.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Your question is very genuine, Dr. Annie. Uh, Let me just explain you what basically is the industry.
Yes, sir.
Industry is that from the seedlings of the research, they want to grow the crop. Okay.
Okay.
Because if it is good enough for the use of the society, you cannot restrict it in a small volume. Like what we see today is there is a shortage of the vaccination, and
Right.
everybody is now cursing the industry. Why they are not producing more? Why? And some of the politicians, they would say why the license is not given to all the industries or like that. So basically, what industry is looking for, first of all, that how it would be beneficial to the society, number one. And
Hmm.
in case it would be beneficial to the society, how well we can supply in time to the society. We cannot say that the first crop we have given to the Tamil Nadu region, and for second crop they are waiting and we are supplying somewhere else. So that's why the industrial synthetic analog is simultaneously developed. It is a series of the research. You see, we know that opium, it used to be in the very earlier time, and we could define it that morphine is good.
Hmm.
Morphine injectables, they were also developed, but
Hmm.
they were not sufficient enough to
Hmm.
make the society make pain free. So simultaneously the pethidine was developed, right,
Yeah.
from the similar structure of the morphine, right. It was bit lesser effective, but simultaneously was not having more of the addiction part also. And with pethidine we have worked for a longer time. Again, since pethidine was again using a natural core base,
Hmm.
so thereafter the product dextromethorphan or like that, they were developed simultaneously, so they still have the lesser. So that means the orientation of the industry is not merely confining to developing the technology, but it is again back to the market. What market need, how we provide them, what would be the quantification, what would be the growth factor, and in case we are able to meet the growth factors, what criteria we are to follow. So industry makes a perspective. I just tell you one thing, one more example. We seek an technology for the anti-leukoderma management with DRDO in the year 2004. Would you believe that we were able to make the product commercially available in 2011? It took 7 years for one industry to commercialize the technology, right, for the market. Because what we really found that in the DRDO laboratories, whatever the resourcing they were using, they were not commercially and naturally available in the market. So again, we were to start it with, okay, these particular plants are there, where they would be available, how would they be grown. We contacted with the farmers, we motivated them, we had given them the advance money, we involved ourselves from the agronomy, right, to make the plants available, and it took more than 7 years in order to develop that particular technology. So with a series of the things, we should not just confine to one particular part that we have made the patent. Patent and returns, they are definitely the essential component, but they come at a later phase. Initial phase is that what is the scope of the product, and in case it goes successful, how would we manage it for a longer time. That's why in industry, and if you refer to the Pharmaxil and Chemexil, you find so many motivational factors are there for the industries, like import substitution award, or the synthetic molecule development awards, like glycolamide and rifampicin, they were under the importation. So our industries at a later phase, in the synthetic phase, they develop their synthetic pathways, and now everything is available. So at the very initial time, rifampicin, 35 years before, rifampicin was costing maybe 5 rupees a capsule that time, and maybe now after 35 years, now it should not be even, it may be costing 2 rupees or 3 rupees. So industrialization is something like that.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, most welcome.
Thank you, sir. And that was really nice to hear you and such words, and the way you sorted out the queries of the faculty as well as the students. So with this, we'll be ending the session for the day today. And here is a token of appreciation for you, sir, like e-certificate, although this is just worthless for what you have given to us, a great knowledge. So this is for you, sir, Dr. Anil Kumar Sharma, Vice President, ML Pharmaceuticals. We are really thankful to you to have this on platform. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Kumar, and please convey my thanks to Dr. Vandana Sethi and also to your senior management.
Yeah, of course, she said in the morning that she'll be trying to reach you, if she could possible, but she had some appointments, so she could not make it somehow.
No problem. Yeah. Please. Okay. Right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.